With the NHL confirming its players will be participating in the 2022 Olympics, I thought it would be a fun exercise to start predicting the Olympic rosters. We're going to start with my home country, Team Canada. There are so many players to pick from. Who could make this squad? We'll discuss my opinions coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing an early prediction here for the Olympic rosters. We're starting with Team Canada. I will be covering other teams here in the days to come. Certainly the projections for these rosters likely will change here a bit as well as the NHL season gets underway. Obviously the early part of the season performance for many of these players will certainly have a big impact, I would suspect, on whether or not they make their country's Olympic team or not. And of course, some of these guys, will make it strictly on reputation alone and experience and all that. They've been there before, and they're going to be the go-to guys here yet again. So we're going to break this up basically into three segments. We'll look at the goaltenders, the defense, and then the forwards. I just want to make it clear, this is just my opinion. I can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be at least a couple of players that people will think should be on this roster that I do not have included, and that's totally fine. Let's just have a respectful conversation. Leave your comments down below who you feel should be on the roster. If it's something different than mine, that's totally cool. Just let me know what you think. We can talk about it, and I guess we'll find out what the real roster will be in due time. So let's get started first up and take a look at Team Canada's goaltenders. In my opinion, Team Canada's goaltenders will be led by a couple of veteran guys with Marc-Andre Fleury and Carey Price. Now, both these guys have been around the NHL a long time. They've both accomplished many things. Marc-Andre Fleury is the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. Of course, Carey Price is coming off a run to the Stanley Cup final last year. I would suspect that both these guys will be leaned on heavily by Team Canada and their brass. Now, who will be the number 3 goaltender? That's a little bit more up for debate, in my opinion. They could turn to a guy like Darcy Kuemper, who's obviously been with Team Canada as early as the World Championships not that long ago, this past spring. You've also got some youngsters you could look to, like a Carter Hart or a Mackenzie Blackwood. Based on last year's play, Carter Hart's probably not really all that much in the conversation, I wouldn't think right now. If he comes off to a dominant early start to the season, though, he might be able to work himself back in. About a year or so ago, I would have projected Carter Hart to likely be on this team for sure, but last year was an absolute disaster, and it's kind of going against him right now, whereas Mackenzie Blackwood has continued to get better. His ability to lead the Devils has increased. The team's getting better, and I certainly think it's fair to say that more people are aware of how good of a goaltender he is at this point in his NHL career. I do think Team Canada has a lot of choices here. Ultimately, right now, I'm leaning towards Darcy Kuemper just with the recent international experience. And like I said, the fact that Hart is not coming off a good season, and I'm just not sure Blackwood's really established enough to make this team just yet. But it wouldn't be a complete shocker, though, if Blackwood was selected instead of Kuemper. And like I said, I think Hart is a bit of a dark horse at this point, unless he has like an amazing start to the season. Now, there's all kinds of options between the defense and the forwards. Obviously, we're going to take a couple of extra players at each position too, just like we normally see here. On the blue line, I would suspect there's probably going to be at least 2 or 3 guys here that many people probably are going to think should be honest, and it really boils down to, I think, of who you watch the most, who you cheer for, and all that. But ultimately, I think the top pairing for Team Canada will be guys that play together in Vegas, and that's Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. I think both these guys can lead by, just like they do with Vegas. Petro has been there before. He's got a Stanley Cup to his name. He's a great leader, and both these guys are really good at moving the puck up the ice. They can run a power play. There's all kinds of things to like about their abilities back there. And to me, they're already used to playing together as well. They do that a fair bit in Vegas. I do think with a short prep for a big tournament, I do think you're going to see some players be selected based on who they play with. I know we've seen it before, and I would not be shocked to see it again. Some teams might be picked here based on kind of like duos, like, a couple of forwards play together a lot, a couple of D pairs play together a lot. It just cuts down the amount of time they need in order to kind of get used to playing together. Even though they're great players, it doesn't mean they're automatically going to gel. But these two guys certainly do it on a nightly basis in Vegas, and to me would make an excellent choice here to lead Canada's blue line. Now, the next pair I think might be, one of these guys might be a little bit more controversial than the other. I'm going with Cale Makar on the right side. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of debate about that. One of the top young, dynamic, offensively gifted defensemen in the NHL today. Cale Makar is certainly a guy that it dazzles and impresses us on a nightly basis with what he can do. The skating is absolutely unreal. The offensive instincts are incredible. And I think, to me, especially in an international competition in the NHL too, he needs to be paired with somebody who can offset what he brings. Obviously, somebody who's a little bit more of a defender, a little bit more of a stay-at-home kind of guy, so he can be more comfortable doing what he needs to do, and he doesn't have to be so concerned about getting caught because he knows his defense partner is going to have his back. And I'm going with somebody who's got a ton of playoff experience over the past couple of years, and to me is one of the more underrated guys in the NHL. Just signed a longer-term contract, and that's Islanders defenseman Adam Pelech. Pelech and Pollock with the Islanders, to me, are one of the top most underrated D pairs around the NHL. And I think Adam Pelech is certainly going to get a lot of attention here when it comes to Team Canada's roster selections, and where they do need a couple of guys that can actually play defense here. You can't have everybody be an offensive juggernaut and have everybody be a puck rusher and a power play specialist. You need some guys that can actually block shots, play D, and just really, handle the opposition's top strong forwards. And he's one of those guys, has proven he can do that through the NHL seasons as well as in the playoffs. And to me, would make an excellent offsetting defense pair with Cale Makar. So to me, that's my selection for the second pairing of the Canada blue line. Now, the third pair, there is so many guys left that we can pick from here. Ultimately, the couple of guys that I really debated here, I'm going to take as extras, and they might be able to work their way into the lineup. But my third pair is going to be on the right side, Dougie Hamilton, the new $9 million man with the New Jersey Devils. And I'm going to put him on the left side with a budding star in Arizona, Jakob Chychrun, who's likely going to be one of the few players the Coyotes build around, probably their future captain. Had an immensely breakout season last year on a team that struggled. So look, the team in Arizona, regardless of what the results have been the past few years, they've been a team that struggled to score for an extensive period of time. And for him to put up the numbers like he's been doing is an absolutely that much more of an accomplishment, in my opinion. So Chychrun, like I said, he's a guy that is an underrated player that to me should be on this team. But at the same time, you have some guys that I've omitted here, and I'm taking a couple of players as extras with experience that could certainly play their way onto that, and that's Drew Doughty on the right side. Doughty, to me, it's he may not be the player he was when he was absolutely in his prime years. Obviously he's in his early 30s now, but he can still play, and he can still play at a high level. He's still ultra competitive, and certainly has been a big part of these Team Canada rosters in the past. So to me, I think he needs to be there. You have to consider putting him in. Maybe he gets a spot and somebody else has to work their way in because of the experience. I'm not sure. And the other guy that I'm taking as an extra that can work his way into this lineup if need be too is Senators left shot defenseman Thomas Chabot. Now, Chabot, to me, is an offensive guy, can rush the puck, skates like to win. He's a cardio nut, so he can play 26, 27 minutes a night and not really be bothered by it. I know sometimes when he plays a little bit less, he does play better because obviously, when you start to tire a bit, it does impact your judgment and your decisions, and we've seen that with him. But certainly a guy who's an offensive star in this league. Now, there's lots of other guys too. Like I said, I could probably rattle off at least 2 or 3 other names that should be in this conversation. We can't take them all. Fortunately for Canada, having such a strong hockey country, we could probably put 2 teams on the ice, and I could probably still have guys that somebody out there, I'm sure, will critique me and say, needed to be on one of those teams. In Canada, it will be coached by John Cooper as well, a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, so certainly a guy who's used to handling a lot of star power, a guy who's used to having a successful track record, won everywhere he's been, and this is obviously going to be his next venture here in the coaching world, see if he can lead Team Canada back to another gold medal in men's hockey at the 2022 Olympics. So obviously he's going to have a lot of forwards at his disposal. Like I said, this is a tough job. I know there's, like I said, bound to be a few here that somebody out there is going to claim should be on this team. But here is my selections for the top 12 with a couple of extras on this roster. Again, leave your comments. If you think they should be different, we can discuss in a mature way in the comment section. Your top line, to me, is going to be almost impossible for other teams to handle. It's going to be centered by Connor McDavid, and he's going to have his two wingers be Nathan MacKinnon and Jonathan Huberdeau. Now, these two guys, to me, along with McDavid, will make a perfect trio. McKinnon's speed can go hand in hand with McDavid. The things those two guys can both do at high speed is absolutely ridiculous. Jonathan Huberdeau on the other side is an incredibly smart player. I think you could put him on any line and he will make them better and do a lot of the little things that you may not notice as well, just to make the line be more successful. I think because he plays in Florida and it kind of flies under the radar a little bit. He's a player I've gotten to watch since his days in junior with the St. John Sea Dogs. Incredibly gifted, very skilled, but very smart and very responsible player, in my opinion, would complement that line extremely well. I can just imagine the likes of McDavid and McKinnon flying up and down the ice together. Like I said, I wish the opposition defenders luck, because that is not going to be any easy task. One of them on their own in the NHL with some lower quality line mates is scary enough, but you put those two guys together between, like I said, the smarts, the speed, the skill, it would be absolutely fascinating to watch, in my opinion, as Canada's top line. Now, your second line is going to be a line we've seen together before. They're all still playing at a high level at the NHL. They're all still very much deserving to be on this team. They've all won gold before, and that's going to be centered by Sidney Crosby alongside Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. The two Boston players have partnered with Crosby on multiple occasions and have been an extremely successful trio. Crosby plays with Bergeron dating back all the way to a long time ago. They played together multiple times. He and Marchand's played together multiple times. Like it just clicks for some reason, and those two guys just know how to play with Sid, because it can be not an easy task for a lot of wingers to be able to play with him and be successful. We've seen so many wingers recycle through the Penguins roster throughout his career as a Pittsburgh Penguins. But to me, there is no need to change that line. It's been super successful in the past. They're all playing at a high level. They all deserve to be here. So to me, I let that one ride. Your third line, to me, are all guys that can be extremely offensively talented, but they're all players that are either in the sulky conversation or certainly can shut down and aggravate the other team. And I'm going to center this line with Tampa Bay speedster Braden Point, who certainly, like his coach, is a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, one of the faster players in the league, certainly one of the higher rising stars in the NHL as well. And I'm going to flank him with a couple of Selke nominees and the current reigning winner with Sean Couturier on the left side and Mark Stone on the right side. Between the speed from Point and the smarts and takeaways and defensive play from his wingers, this line can produce a lot on the transition. This line should be able to obviously take away and shut down a lot of the other team's top forwards here as well. I can see them being really hard to play against, really frustrating. Like I said, and not only that, when they get their opportunities and their takeaways and their turnovers, they can easily go down the other way and score into the opponent's net. So to me, this trio gives you that combination of being able to kill penalties, take key defensive draws, and play the role of shutdown and be able to capitalize on their chances when they get them, because they're so offensively talented all at the same time. So to me, this is your prototypical excellent third line for Team Canada. Now, when it comes to Canada's fourth line, they might see a smaller role, but still very equally important. They need a lot of depth to get through these tournaments and win, and there's a lot of guys we can be putting in this roster right now that could fit this bill, but I'm going to have it centered by another Selke-nominated type of player, flanked by some skilled wingers and guys that can put the puck in the net. So we're going to put Ryan O'Reilly at center, of course, the captain of the St. Louis Blues, a Stanley Cup champion, a guy who's won the Selke Trophy, the Conn Smythe. He's done it all, the ultimate competitor. And like I said, his wingers will be Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets and Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to add Marner in there to add a little bit of speed and skill. Scheifele can certainly be good on the face-off if he needs to on his strong side as a winger. He can also, has a really good shot, can be a great goal scorer in his own right. And between all the things here with this team, in a huge role, but they can contribute when need be. They can kill penalties. They can take defensive zone starts. And they can also do a lot of other little things well just to kind of keep the flow going in Canada's favor. I mean, we've seen Mitch Marner kill penalties in Toronto. We've seen Mark Scheifele play, different roles for Winnipeg. And of course, we know O'Reilly is one of the more responsible 200-foot players in the NHL. So to me, this is another easy line. Like, they're all insanely talented offensively, but you have to have guys that can play defense, kill penalties, do all the things you need to do on special teams to be successful. So there's certainly some guys out there that deserve to be on this roster. At least I know I had a really, really tough time narrowing this down. Extra forwards that I'm taking with me on this tournament is Steven Stamkos from Tampa. So the Lightning captain, like Braden Point and like head coach John Cooper, back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. Even though he wasn't a huge part of the first one, he was still there. He did contribute, and he's been a great leader and had a tremendous career, battled his injuries throughout time, which has certainly played a role in him having opportunities like this here in the past as well. But I still have a lot of faith in Stammer's ability to play a variety of roles. I think he could somebody who could play up and down the lineup in this team and kind of take any spot for a player that might be injured or not playing well or anything of that nature. So to me, it only makes sense to take him. And of course, with head coach John Cooper being there, I would suspect he will lobby hard to have his team captain from the last two Stanley Cup championships be a part of this group. And the other player I'm taking as an extra is Matthew Barzal of the New York Islanders. Barzal's another guy. You can put him on the wing. He could play center. He's got incredible speed, incredible skill. You could put him with McDavid and McKinnon if you needed to. He could fit in on that line with the skill. You could also put him a little bit, on line 3, for example, where like if Braden Point, something happened to him, I mean, Barzal's not going to give you the exact same 200-foot game, but still, like, he can give you that same type of speed. He could fill in for Mitch Marner on the fourth line. Like, he's still a versatile player, I think, that could fit in on a variety of spots here, and an evolving offensive threat who's only getting better all the time. Only somebody I think should be well-deserved to be on this team. Like I said, though, I know there's going to be others that I've left off this group that I'm sure there will be people out there that probably talking to the camera right now saying, I can't believe you left this guy off, or I can't believe you left that guy off. And that's just the way it is with Canada, given how strong of a hockey nation we are and how many options there are to pick from. Those are all my selections here for now for Team Canada. As I mentioned, I will be doing other countries in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. Leave lots of comments down below to let me know your thoughts on which players you feel should be on this roster. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.